Since I was raised by a single mom who was a OR nurse, couldn't afford childcare, I spent most of my summers and vacations at the hospital. And I fell in love with the morgue and dead bodies and watching surgeries. So my whole life I wanted to be a coroner, or a pathologist, rather. And so my goal was to go to med school and do that. And then I pretty much got shafted by a really not nice pre-med advisor. And it didn't work out. So I wasn't able to take the MCAT. And so I just gave up on that. And then fell in love with anthropology and decided I would become an anthropology professor. And then applied to 13 schools and got into 0. So my heart was crushed. And then my advisor, she said, why don't you go to Guatemala and try learning Mayan? So in the summer of '97, I went to Guatemala and it changed my entire life. But once I got to Guatemala, 6 months after they ended 36 years of genocidal war, and seeing the poverty and the pain and the suffering, but also sort of hope in a lot of the people who were trying to teach me their language, I didn't see the point in studying death or dead people. I wanted to do something that might have a positive impact on living people. So I reoriented my entire research project. And then wrote an undergraduate honors thesis, went back to Guatemala on my own twice that next year, and got a second undergraduate degree, reapplied to grad school, and then got into 2 schools, and then took a full ride assistantship to SUNY Albany. So I'm one of the lucky ones, and I have to explain to my non-academic friends that we go where the job is, right? And I'm just lucky enough to not be in the middle of nowhere at a crappy school. I would have walked away from academia years ago. I get to be at a great school with a great department in a great town that it's taken me years to get used to, because I am an absolute city person at heart. I used to joke with my mom and my dad that I am now officially living in Boone, North Carolina. I only knew Boone that it even existed on this planet from a friend when I lived in New Orleans in the 90s who had lived here. And we always used to make fun of him. We used to say, Boone as in Daniel Boone? And he's like, that's right. And then, here it is 20 years later. I'm living in Boone, North Carolina, and I love it. And I have a fantastic department. Yeah, I just woke up one day about 3 years ago. I moved into this apartment. I can't afford to buy a house on what I'm paid, and with a $940, $50 student loan. So I just said, I want to recreate a late 19th century New Orleans red light district hotel. I have no idea why. I do like the Victorian era. So I spent about a year or two basically just antiquing and trying to find original items from that period to create what could be a movie set in my living room. I think it was in high school I started doodling with a design that I wanted on my arm. And then when I was 18 years old in college, I got my first tattoo, just an armband. It was some crazy spiked wannabe, I forget the actual term of it, but it's like every person was getting these in the 90s. And a little armband right below the shoulder muscle. Tribal, right? But as an anthropologist, I hate and reject that term. Next tattoo was a Tlingit owl on my left shoulder. And then I think at that point I decided my left arm would only be academic stuff and my right arm would only be personal stuff. All right, no particular order. So my mother passed away last year, and her favorite Catholic saint was the Virgin Mary, Saint Mary. And then the town in which I work in Guatemala, their patron saint is the Virgin of the Assumption. So I got this tattoo. It just says Madre, Mother, and Sololá is the name of the town I've worked in for 20 years. Over here, this is Lucy Kitty, or Lucifer was his nickname. His brother was Michael. There were 2 stray kittens that I helped raise on my porch of my house. So Michael had a little white in him, but Lucy, he was all black. And then Lucy got run over by a speeding car, presumably a student in my neighborhood. So I buried him, and then so it says slow down for Lucy. What else is here? Oh yeah, I've got here's my little devil rabbit. So with a pitchfork and 2 horns. This is the only supernatural experience I've ever had in my life as a young child. I saw an anthropomorphic rabbit with a red pitchfork, and I had recurring nightmares for the next year or 2 as a child because of that. It's a long story. I did not have anything below my elbows because I didn't want to have tattoos below my elbows in case I wanted to wear a t-shirt or something. I then ran out of space on my arms, so I came down a little further, and I thought, it's okay, I can just roll button-up sleeves down. So I had to go from t-shirts to like button-up shirts because I could hide them. Then I ran out of space again, except for this little open spot I got right here and then the back. But I sort of ran out of space again and wanted to honor my mom and, you know, my cat and my grandpa. So I said, okay, that's it. I'm just going to have to go ahead and suck it up, regardless of how hot it is in any given day. I'm just going to roll down my sleeves and have button-up shirts. And I sit and I will suffer, but this is the trade-off. And then last spring I was at a conference in Guatemala, an academic conference. I was one of the co-organizers, and I basically just said, this is ridiculous. It's 90 degrees out. I am sweating. I am already hot. I have already untucked my button-up shirt. There's much more that I can do other than roll up my sleeves, which I did. And so I had colleagues of mine who said, you have tattoos? And I said, yeah, but I'm the same scholar. I'm the same friend of yours. And they're like, oh, that's cool. I've got a little more space here. So I will probably do, something else related to Guatemala. But I would like to reserve some space for, you know, if I ever get married or lucky enough to have a child, obviously going to need space for that.